Hello, hello. It is Erica with Holy Rustic and Redheaded Princess Designs, and we are here to paint this cute little lemon door hanger together today. So come in, say hey, let me know how you're doing. It is Maycember. If you know, you know. It's a little crazy, but the weather is finally feeling very summer-like, and this is our BOGO from last month, and I thought we need to get this painted. So let's work on it together. I'm just going to pull my pieces off and set them over to the side, and then I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see what we've got on our table here. And we're going to get started painting. So let me know in the comments if you got this door hanger and if you have painted it yet, or if you've been waiting for me to paint yours. So we're going to start. I'm just going to start with the top of this base, and I need to make this brown. I don't have to paint the whole thing because we've got that 3D piece that covers the bottom down here. So we're just going to take this brown and go right over the top, and I'm going to lighten it up a little bit, I think, with a little bit of white, and I'm going to grab some of that brown as well. It has been a little crazy around here, trying to get caught up. We took a trip to Italy, my husband and I, and it was amazing and wonderful, and I absolutely, everything was gorgeous. It was just one of those trips that you come back and you're like, oh, it was a fabulous time. But when you own your own business, going away is not always the easiest thing, and then coming back is sometimes even harder because there's nobody doing the things while you're gone. So it just means you have all that work to do when you get home. And so I have been trying to catch up and get everything back on track. And yeah, it's been a task. So I think we are almost there, almost caught back up. Orders are caught up. It's just a matter of now I've got to get subscription boxes out. So we shipped most of these out right when we got back from Italy. And so you should have yours if you ordered one when we did the BOGO. If you didn't get the BOGO, it is still available on our website. And the way we're going to be doing the BOGO from now on, for some time there, we were doing a BOGO every month. And in the future, we're going to do maybe a couple times a year, we'll offer a BOGO. It was just becoming a lot, and people weren't ordering it as much. So I'm hoping by only offering it as a few times a year that maybe more people will take advantage of that special deal. Because it's just a lot of work to set up on our end to only have 1 or 2 people order. So I would have decided to do bigger discounts throughout the year, and then we'll just offer the BOGO once or twice a year. Okay, so we've got the top up here in this nice brown color, and I added a little bit of white and a few other colors of brown there just to give us a little variation. You can go with just a straight brown if you prefer. And I think I should be good. I'm going to double check and make sure I've painted down far enough. I have. So you just need to come to right where it says summer, and you will be good there. And then we don't have to paint this part because we're going to glue that other piece on top of there. And if you got this kit and you're like, this wood feels different, it is different. When I went to go pick this up at the lumber yard, this is what they had. I kind of like it. It doesn't have as much of a slick base on it, which makes it a little bit better for painting. Will it stick around? I do not know. I'm just kind of at the mercy of the lumberyard sometimes. So I'm hoping that they could keep it. I told them I really liked it, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so this bottom circle here, we're going to do in a very bright blue. I will say this piece reminds me so much of Italy. The pretty blues with the bright yellow lemons. It's like the coast there. You could see this kind of decor everywhere on the coast in Italy. It's just beautiful yellow with the blue. And I am lightening my blue just a little here. You know me, I don't like to use anything straight from the bottle. Let's make it a little more interesting. If you're finding that your paint is drying very quickly, it is because this wood does not have that core on it, that slick base, and so it is really soaking up the paint. So just dampening your brush a little bit will help move that paint along a little bit more for you, and that way you don't have to worry about gobbing the paint on quite as much. This middle piece here is also 3D, so I'm just making sure I get like these little pieces where it's going to show through from the greenery, and then like this big chunk here in the middle. I don't have to worry about that as much because that's going to be covered. So we're just doing these edges here. This sign has a whole collection of things that I am like just dying to paint, and I need more hours in the day, quite honestly. But one of these days, things are about to slow down. This is our last week of school here in Indiana, and so we are done with school on Friday, and so hopefully that means that I will have more time to sit and paint. That's my goal anyway. Okay, so there's that. Now in the picture, this does have a cute little polka dotted background. So we could do that if you want, or I'm tell you what, I'm actually just going to do splatter because I think it's easier than polka dots. So the way I do splatter is I use a fan brush. So this is our fan brush here. And I take a little bit of my paint water, mix it with the paint just to thin it out. You don't want it too thin, but you do want it to be a little bit thinner. And then we're just going to I just kind of do a little test tap there, and we're going to come over here and just do a little tappy tap. And I just prefer this to the polka dots because I don't have to stress about it being exact. So that's what I'm going to do. If you prefer the polka dot method, you can certainly do that. And I'm going to give this a dry just to make sure I don't smear any of those dots. But the polka dots, you can use like the bottom of your paintbrush and just right along there and get some cute little polka dots if you prefer that. We're just going to give this a quick dry. Just know most of this is going to be covered with your greenery, and that's why I don't have any paint here in the middle. Okay. We're going to set that over to the side to dry. Let's go ahead and work on our yellow pieces because if you have painted with me for any amount of time at all, you know that yellow is, no, you know what? We want to do the white pieces first. Yellow is my least favorite color to paint with. It's just a pain. So we'll do yellow after we do the white. So let's go ahead and do the white, and we're going to do this cute little lacy piece here. And I'm using my makeup sponge. So all of our kits include a little makeup sponge, excuse me, that you can use to paint with. You're going to take that makeup sponge, set him down on the table. He's like a little bunny. He's got bunny ears here. So we're going to grab his little ears, dip him into the paint, and then he needs to hop, hop, hop up and down a couple times before he comes over here to paint this piece. And the reason why is because you don't want a ton of paint on your sponge when you come over here, because the goal here is that we are not pushing paint into the little grooves and stuff, and that we're keeping the edges fairly clean. And so by hopping up and down after we load the paint on the sponge, we're getting some of that excess off so that we have just a cleaner look over here. And you'll notice I'm not dragging the sponge. It's a bunny, so it hops up and down. And I know that sounds really silly, but it really does make sense. So that is what I have started saying. All right, we're coming over here, up and down on our hello. And then we have all of these flowers to paint as well. And if you've got some painter's tape or some Scotch tape, this works really well to help hold your pieces. So we're going to grab a little piece of this. We're going to fold the ends under and stick it down to our table. So we've got this big sticky sided tape. And we're going to just put all these little flowers on here. And this is just going to keep them from bouncing around while we're trying to paint them. And hold them still. It'll just make our life a little bit easier. I've got a tiny bit of blue in that white, and I'm just going to go with it. It's fine. Just remember, each time you take the sponge into the paint, you need to kind of dab off over on this side. I used my table for that, but you can do aluminum foil works really well as well if you prefer that. I made this tape a little long, so making my life harder than it needs to be. Let's put that down there. That'll help hold that end of my tape. There we go. And we're just painting all of our flowers with this white, and then we're doing the hello and the little lacy piece here as well. You could get real creative with this and do this in whatever color you prefer. If you don't really like the yellow and the blue, yellow and blue just go so well together. So that's what we're going to do today. So if you're new around here, you can always grab our kits on our website anytime at holyrustic.com. All of our kits are going to include an inspiration photo for you to look at while you're painting, some basic instructions, a makeup sponge, a tiny little thing of glue, and also your paint in the colors to match the inspiration photo. So, and then this is just an acrylic paint. So if you want to change it up, you can go to any of the stores and get just plain craft acrylic paint and change it up if you prefer that. All right, that is looking pretty good. We do need several coats of the white. Just to have good coverage, but I think this is looking really nice. And so I am going to call that done. And we'll give that a quick dry, just so I can pull this off of this tape. You know what, actually, I'm just going to leave it on the tape. We're just going to set it over here, and we'll just grab another piece of tape. So another piece of tape. Fold the ends under, set it down. We're going to put our letters here for the word summer. Whoa, these are a little bit bigger than I thought. Here we go. I think that'll work. Okay, and these are going to be yellow. So what we're going to do first, we're going to base them with a base of white, because yellow is just extremely transparent, translucent, however you want to say that. It doesn't have a ton of pigment to it, and that is why it is my least favorite color to paint with. But if we put the white down first, that will give our yellow something to grab onto when we come back over these letters. So we'll give these a moment to dry, and while they're drying, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to our giant lemon here. So we're going to grab a brush, and we're just going to give this giant lemon a base of white. I've got blue in there. It's fine. As long as I make sure I let that dry so I don't mix the blue with the yellow, and then I would have a green lemon. I don't want that. So while we were in Italy, we went to the Amalfi Coast. We went to the town of Amalfi. We went to Positano, and Ravello. And the lemons, they're no joke, are huge. I mean, they are just the biggest lemons you've ever seen in your whole life. I could not believe. And they are so flavorful and just amazing. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I've got some, while I'm letting that dry for just a moment, move that. I'm just going to do a little green on this leaf. And I guess it's the volcanic ash that makes the soil. They are just so much better for growing things. But the taste is amazing, but the size of the lemons is insane. Okay, we've got all of that base coated with white. So now we're going to come into our yellow with our sponge. I am not clipping this sponge because we just had white on here, so the yellow is going to be fine. And we're going to start just painting these letters. And you can see how bright that yellow is because we went ahead and did that base coat of white. It's just going to save us a little bit. If we didn't do the base coat of white, we would probably have to put on about 5 or 6 coats of yellow. But because we did the base coat of white, hopefully now we can get away with maybe 2 coats of yellow. So, I mean, you're still doing 3 coats of paint, but I just think it makes it easier. I think the yellow is a little bit brighter when you do it with the white underneath. So your choice there, but that's just my little trick for getting a much brighter yellow color. A little bit of white. All right. You could also, if you prefer, mix the white into your yellow to do the first coat. That also helps. And sometimes it just depends upon your paint and whether or not it's a heavy pigmented paint. There are some yellows that are better than others. All right, so we've got summer for a nice base coat there. Just trying to make sure it's even. We'll let that dry for just a second. We're going to rinse out our brush and we're going to come in and do our beautiful lemon. Now, when you paint this lemon, you want to be sure that your brush is kind of going around in circles here. That's going to help to start to give your lemon some shape. Sometimes it seems kind of silly because it's like, well, that's really not doing very much, but I promise you that it is. I'm going to grab a teensy bit of white here. We're going to keep that kind of ovalish shape and see how that's just kind of barely blending with my yellow. We will let that dry for a minute. We're going to come back over to our letters with another bit of yellow. So these kits, once you do a couple of them, I find that they're pretty easy to do. You paint your pieces and you put them together. It's like a puzzle. So they really are not terribly difficult to do. Sometimes it's a little challenging because of how they go together, but for the most part, they're fairly easy and pretty self-explanatory, which is why we just have the basic directions that are included with your kit. But if you ever have any trouble, you're not sure how to do something, you can always send us an email. We're happy to help. All right, I think those letters are looking beautiful. I do want to add a little bit of a white glow to the top of these letters. So I'm going to turn these so that they are going the right direction so I don't get confused. I'm going to pick up a teensy bit of white on my sponge here, and I'm going to come right around the top and just, I keep picking up fuzzies here, just barely tap on the top of these letters. And the goal here is to blend that white a little bit with the yellow. And I'm going a little further down than I really want. So let's try that again. Let's just come right across the top. And you want to kind of do this while the yellow is still a little wet. And so we're just going for a very light, almost kind of ombre, but not really look. Right across that top. And I'm going to pull this down a little bit further. Oops. I should have stuck my finger on there. There we go. And you just kind of keep playing with it, going back and forth between the yellow and the white until you get it where you like it. So we're coming just barely tap, tap, tap across the top until we blend down into that other yellow. And then if you want it to be a little brighter, you can grab a little more white and come in and do it kind of a second time. Notice how I kind of come across several of them with the brighter white. And then what I will do is come back once I don't have very much paint on there and just kind of blend right where that white and that yellow are meeting with kind of the side of the sponge here. What I don't want is like a harsh line where it's white and then yellow. I want just a soft little glow there. I think that looks pretty good. So it's picking up way better on the camera than it is in real life. All right, let's set that over to the side. Let's work on this lemon a little bit more here. A little bit of yellow. Remember, we're going around and around. And we have fuzzies here. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to pick up a teensy bit of white, and we're going to go around and around. Okay, I want a little bit more of a highlight on the top of my lemon here, so a little bit brighter. So I'm just going to put some white down, and I'm not going to blend it as much this time. So a little curve, and then just taking that brush round and round. And what I will do is once this dries, I'll come back in and do a much brighter, and maybe we can do it right now. Let's do it right now. Let's do a much brighter highlight right through here. There we go. So we have a nice, bright little white highlight there on our lemon. And just like we did with the letters, you're going to just keep kind of going back and forth between your yellow and your white until you get it where you like it. Just the trick here with the highlights and stuff is to not, don't pull too far down, because what ends up happening is you just make a new color. So you want to stick to right where you want the highlight to be instead of coming all the way down. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of brown and just do this stem here on our lemon. And I should have probably rinsed my brush off, but that's okay. And I'm not worried about this little space here because my leaves are going to go there. So that'll kind of cover that line where the stem and the lemon kind of meet. Okay, what else do we need to do? We need to do the centers of our flowers, and we've got to do that big leafy piece over there. So let's do this first, and we'll use our sponge. for this. We're going to grab our green and just come in and paint. And I'm picking up a little bit of yellow with my green and kind of accidentally a little bit of blue. It's okay. I am just going to go with it. It's just going to give us a little variation in the color here. You could do this with the brush as well. It's just kind of hard on this piece is kind of difficult because you've got some little pieces here, but it is bigger in volume. So it's really up to you, whichever you prefer. Remember, we don't have to paint where that lemon's going to go. So, you know, there is kind of that. That takes away a good majority of the space here. And I will tell you, you do need to be a little careful with this piece. We had, as I was pulling these off the lasers even, I had a couple that I had to recut because they're very fragile in spots where the leaves are like through here. So just kind of be aware of that as you're painting it. If it breaks, it's not the end of the world. You know, you can always glue it together, or you can send us an email and we can help you. But just be aware that you need to be a little careful there. Okay, so we've got a nice base there on the leaves. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white. And what I want to do is kind of come to the top. I want this to just be a lighter green. So I don't want it to be straight white. Still too white. Okay, let's try that. Not loving that either. Okay, a little white. There we go. Just want to add a little variation into these leaves. You just have to be careful when you're using the sponge because it, depending upon how you set it down, sometimes you can get kind of a rectangle-ish look from the sponge. So just as I do it, I'm kind of using the side of the sponge to just hit the tops or the edges of these leaves. And then if I accidentally come in and get a little bit of a rectangle mark, I'm just kind of blending it a little bit. I know it's not super exact. It's really not a science. You know, we just want a little variation there. So I think that looks pretty good. The other way you could do this is you could take your brush and pick up whatever color you want, maybe like a lighter green here, and just kind of brush across these pieces to give you a little bit of dimension to your leaves. And I'm not putting a whole lot of paint on here. That's kind of the trick. You just want little bits at a time, just to give you some variation. And I'm really pulling that brush right across the edge of the piece. Okay, but I think that looks pretty good. We're going to set that over to the side. I want to add just a little variation to these leaves here for our lemon. So we spent so much time working on that beautiful lemon. So I want to give these leaves just a little variation as well. So I'm just picking up a tiny bit of white and I'm coming right along where that edged line is. There's going to be a flower that goes here in between these leaves. So I'm not terribly worried about that middle section and how the leaves are going to meet up. More worried about the leaves themselves, if that makes sense. Okay, Those look pretty good. I think I'm happy with them. She says as she keeps painting. Okay, they're good. These flowers, whoops, we need to do the centers of our flowers here. So you have a couple of options. You could find maybe like a pencil eraser and dip and dot, and that would fill those in quite nicely actually. Or you can use a brush. Totally up to you. I've got paint on here, so now we're just gonna go with it. On these bigger ones, you can just kind of move it around a little, and that way you keep that nice circle shape. Perfect. All right, we're gonna give that a dry. And I think we're ready to glue everything together. So the one thing that our kits do not include is the stuff to make a bow with. And the reason why we don't include that is simply because we would have to stock so much different ribbon to have the ribbon. And then sometimes, you know, these kits, like you find a ribbon, you take the picture, and then that ribbon isn't made anymore. And so just be aware that you're not going to get the ribbon to make the bow. But I think most of these look really great without the bow, but you're more than welcome to, you can always add a bow in if you'd like. We do have some tutorials on our YouTube channel of how to make bows if that's something you need assistance with. I put this paint on these flowers a little thicker, so I'm just making sure it's nice and dry. Okay, inside your kit, you will have a tube of glue. I'm going to use a bigger tube here that I have on my craft table just for economical reasons. Those little tubes are pretty expensive, so I don't like to use them when I'm painting here. They work really well to mail to you, but not necessary for me to use that while I'm painting here. Okay, so, but this glue is going to act, I need a little more room here. There we go. This glue is going to act the same way that your glue in your little tube is. I just need to make sure that it's not clogged. I think it's okay. All right, so what we're going to do, first thing we're going to do is glue down this half circle base piece. Our glue does dry clear. And it's not a quick set glue. It does need some time to dry. So once you have everything glued, you're going to want to let it lay flat for 24 hours before you hang it up. In about 20-ish minutes, it'll seem like it's completely glued, but it's not. So just be sure you let it lay flat. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this, lining it up with the edges, and then smooshing it down. Let's do our hello. And I'm just running the tip of that glue right along where all of my letters are. And you've got the etched lines there to kind of show you where to put your pieces. Okay. And glue this big thing down as well. line it up and smush them down. Okay, and we've got our lemon. Put him on there. Oh, I had green on my fingers. Let's see if I can just pull that green off. There we go. Okay. So all I did was, like that was kind of magical. All I did was take that brush and just get it damp to pull that paint off. And then I'm just coming back with a little bit of yellow. The reason being because with yellow being so translucent, I didn't want to just paint the green into the yellow because my lemon would 100% be green at that point. So we're just going back over him. All right. Dry. I need to put this on here before this glue starts to dry on me. All right. I'm getting a little out of sorts here. All right, let's put these letters on before our glue dries too much. Very nice. Oh my goodness, I love the yellow with the blue. It's just so pretty. So pretty. All right, we've got our little lemon leaves. Just need some glue right there. Pop those puppies on. Okay, and then this little lattice lacy piece. Boop, boop, boop. Perfect. And we'll set that right there. And then we have our flowers. So I'm going to put the big flower right here. Perfect. And then the rest of these, we're just going to kind of spread out around on our leaves. I'm going to try to balance the sides with these medium size ones, and then the rest are all much smaller flowers. So we're just going to put those kind of around on our piece. I am kind of looking at the picture to see where to put these. If I wasn't doing this with you, I would 100% just be putting them wherever. But I want to be sure that you can do yours to look like the picture. So that's why I'm being a little more particular. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. Why do I have? I may have an extra one here, so that's fine. We're going to put him up here. Just put him right there. Look at that. So there is our Hello Summer lemon. So stinking cute. I'm going to add, I feel like my lemon needs one big highlight right through here. And maybe one on this leaf. Oh, it moved. That's okay. And I feel like I may regret this. I want these to be, they look really bright on the camera, but in real life, they're not as bright, and I just want them to be brighter. lost our camera. Why, oh why? I think that looks good. I'm just kind of waiting for the camera to come back. I don't know why we lost the camera there. Anyhow, let's just, there we go. All right, so there it is, our beautiful Hello Summer door hanger. So cute. So thank you so much for painting with me today. I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you paint this, I would love to see pictures of yours. So have a fabulous day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, y'all.